by me, it may be said by a god, it may be written in a scripture, but it is all rubbish unless you perceive it. These dimensions of perception, mental perception, visual perception, by smell, and now, when it comes to Kali, human beings become totally verbal, their mouth becomes the biggest thing. So you need to understand this. The solar system is going through the yugas like this. If you are in tune with it, you are also going with these yugas. If you are above it, you can stay wherever you want. If you are stuck in your own things, the planet may be in Satyuga, you may be in your Kali Yuga. So every individual is still free to either transcend the yuga or be trampled by the yuga or ride the yuga as it is. All the three possibilities are there. So Kali or the end of the Kali, Kalki is supposed to come down on a white horse with wings. Don't get yourself a horse with wings, get yourself a horse with legs. This is funny, isn't it? But it was metaphorically spoken because the light or the intelligence need not necessarily come from you, it is coming because of a heavenly possibility, because the solar system is moving out of that phase. Your intelligence will come out bright and it's a gift from nature. It is dropping upon you. It is a celestial gift. Because it's a celestial gift and there are certain constellations which are seen as a flying horse. You know this? There are certain constellations which are seen as a flying horse. They said it will descend upon you and destroy your darkness. If you want to destroy darkness, nobody needs to fly on a horse and come down. If you just turn on a small light, darkness gets destroyed. Darkness is the most fragile thing. But even that people can't get rid of because they're employing wrong methods. Suppose we turn off the lights and it's dark and you decide, suppose this hall is dirty, if I tell you clean it up, all of you with great enthusiasm if you go, probably in 15 minutes' time you can have the hall cleaned up. Now the hall is dark, then I tell you, get this damn darkness out. If all of you go with great enthusiasm, till you die, if you do, still it will not go. But if we turn on a light, it will go. That is the nature of darkness. That is why a light being on a flying horse came down and took away the darkness. Unless you have still allowed it to live within you.
भारतं महाभारतं धर्म अधर्म संघर्षणम् पक्षि प्राणि मानव च देव धर्म अधर्म पाञ्चालिका ज्ञान प्रभासित दिव्य जीवम् सर्वे सर्वमहामृतम् सर्वे सर्वमहामृतम् भारतम्
Krishna Dvaipayana, the great sage, who was also known as Vyasa, as the compiler of Vedas. Though the Vedas are considered to be over 100,000 years old, and it remained an oral tradition that people from generation to generation transmitted it through oral traditions by telling it to each other. These are generations of people who understood the significance of sound, so they refused to write down the impact and significance of sound. Because of all the things that we use, the subtlest form of physicality is sound. Everything else that you use is electromagnetic, including what happens in your brain. So they did not attach too much importance to the thought, to the emotion, to whatever else happens. But sound was considered significant because it is the subtlest form of physicality and it could be used with immense and devastating impact. So, they maintained oral traditions, never written down. But then once it happened, the rich Gangetic plain was struck by a famine which lasted for over 14 years. They say for 14 years and not a drop of rain came, crops dried up. The civilizations of the day wilted away. People forgot to say the Vedas because they were picking up berries and nuts to eat. They completely forgot their traditions. So when once again the rains came and Vyasa saw the loss that had happened to that civilization because they had lost the Vedas, he thought it is best that it is written down, so he compiled it. People say he could only remember and compile, he could only gather only about 8% of the Vedas. This 8% was classified into 4 segments of Veda called the Rig Veda, Atharvana Veda, Sama Veda and Yajur Veda. I am saying in that order because that is not the order that people use today, but traditionally that's the order. So this 8% became 4 Vedas. Even today, these 4 Vedas are considered to be among the greatest documents that humanity has ever compiled or prepared. But it was only 8% of what was said and what he could remember, he put it together. So the next time, he wanted to compile a great story, an eternal story, which could be relevant to people forever and ever. He did not want to take chances. He spoke to 2 people. One is Vaishampayana, his disciple, who heard in awe. But you know, disciples can distort. I know. So he hired a god. That's why we got him here today, just in case you get it wrong. And the deal was he has to write down, because Vyasa wouldn't trust the human memory anymore, because this method of transmitting through human memory was in the Satyuga, when people were of a certain mental caliber. As this caliber came down towards Kali, we are going up right now, okay? As it started receding, Vyasa thought it is best, it is written down. You cannot trust human memory anymore and they will distort. So there was one person writing down, another person listening. But unfortunately, the written document was so attractive, it was such a grand piece of literature, the gods came and stole it and they took it away. So, the way we know Mahabharata is only to the extent Vaishampayana remembered, not the way Ganapati wrote down. So still, it is these 100,000 verses that we are talking about are still only a fragment of what he spoke. Out of those 100,000, I will speak less than 8%. So, you need to be absolutely involved, not looking at it like a piece of his story, as your story, being a part of it, because we want to walk through the story, not hear somebody else's story. And these were times when the transaction between the planet Earth and other forms of life was very frequent. So there are various aspects to this, which you will find is simply unbelievable for you, but you should not disbelieve anything. Because we are 21st century, we value dissection more than an embrace. Yes, listen to me. We value dissections more than an embrace. We will turn back and dissect later. Right now, I want you to be an embrace with this story and with these people and with these characters, with the human beings, animal forms, yakshas, kinnaras, ganas, devas, gods, goddesses, all kinds. I want you to be in an embrace, not in a state of dissection. You'll miss the whole spirit of what it is. So over 7,000 years ago, We will start 7,000, okay? You want to start further back? Okay, much further back, there was a priest, a master priest, whose name was Brihaspati. Even today, if somebody is very brilliant, very capable, people say he's a Brihaspati. His name is still in usage because he was a master priest, a master scholar. So naturally, Indra, the king of gods, himself, the king of devas, hired him as his official priest. Why a priest was very important for these days is because this is Dwapara Yuga. This is a time when ritual was the most significant aspect of their life, where they learned to use methods around them, substances around them, in a way to impact their own life, the situations around them and also other people's lives. A remnant of this ritualistic culture still lives on. Down south, probably Kerala has kept more ritual than any other part of the country. Kerala has kept it probably in a better state of purity than any other part of the country. It is completely horribly corrupted up north where the story happened, that is present Haryana, Uttar Pradesh and those regions. Middle India, Madhya Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, they kept it to some extent, but not with profound understanding of what it is. We can say it even today, it is Kerala which keeps the ritual not in the best purity, but in the maximum purity that's available right now in the country or in the world. The worst you will find up in Tibet. All Hindu rituals distorted very badly, and unfortunately, Gautam Buddha is being tortured with rituals. All his life was to free humanity from ritual because he was at the cusp where time was shifting from Kali Yuga to Dwapara Yuga. So he wanted to relieve the humanity because he knew last time in Dwapara Yuga they were so ritualistic, so he wanted to relieve them of ritual. So he insisted only on meditation and meditation and meditation. But today, the Buddhist cultures have become far more ritualistic than any Hindu culture in the country. So from north to south, you will see the very tip. Later on we'll come to this. Krishna himself felt if he sends the deities and the rituals across the Western Ghats to Kerala, they will live better. And that is the reason why Guruvayur temple was set up. We will come to that, how he took care to set it up beyond the mountains so that it is not corrupted by that day's culture. So Vaishampayana told the story after the war was over to the second generation of the same dynasty of emperors called Janamejaya. Now when Brihaspati was the main priest or the official priest of Indra, who was the king of devas, had a wife whose name was Tara. Brihaspati represents the planet, the Jupiter. Tara means the stars. So these two were married, and this is one thing that you need to understand. In the ritualistic way of life in this country, a woman's place in the ritual is as important as the man's. This simple arrangement in ancient India made sure that though the physical conditions outside were harsh, still a woman found an equal place because a man cannot perform a ritual without his wife. A man cannot go attain to mukti without his wife. A man cannot receive blessing without his wife. A man cannot go to heaven without his wife. What a serious handicap. So at that time, the social norms or what was referred to as dharma fixed it so that a woman cannot be used or abused or neglected because she is such an important part of… If you tell him she is a very important part of your physical life, very clearly man can see that everything in the physical world happens because of him and his muscle. He would just wipe her out. But the other dimension of your life is not possible for you unless your woman is next to you. This one thing fixed him up in such a way that he has to value the woman. So Brihaspati needed Tara for everything that he wanted to do. Though he is the king of God, Indra's priest, without Tara, he's crippled and he will become unemployed. So he was holding on to her only because she's useful for his employment, otherwise he'll lose his employment. And he himself philandering all over the place. Seeing this, one day she looked up at the full moon and fell in love with the moon god. So, moon god Chandra himself came down and they got into a big romance, and after some time she eloped with him. Brihaspati became furious because it's not just about losing a wife, you lost your job, you lost your prestige, you lost your place in the society, and you can't enter Devaloka or the God's world anymore. So he called Indira and he said, I want my wife back, you have to get her back, otherwise I will not perform your rituals. So Indra interfered and compelled Tara. For the first time, I'm saying for the first time, because this is the first time where somebody is compelling somebody to stick to a certain family structure. And he compelled and said, you have to come back. She said, no, my love is up there. He said, it doesn't matter what your emotions are, the dharma is you must be with him, because unless you stay with him, my rituals will go bad. So she was brought back. And then Tara was pregnant. Brihaspati wanted to know, whose child is it? Tara refused to speak. People gathered. Tara refused to speak. Then from inside the womb, the unborn child asked the question, whose child am I really? Then all the people assembled was in huge appreciation of the intelligence of this child, wanting to know, when he is still in the womb, what seed is he made of. People said, you must. You may refuse to tell your husband, you may refuse to tell the gods, but you cannot refuse to tell your unborn child.